I gonna get on my knees before the trouble starts. They woman look at me, now they want fight. What? Cause I try stay out of trouble, they think I like. No, because she look my way, boy don't be mad. You know what old folks are say, little pin them joke hard. I can pray hard, I can pray hard. When trouble come boy, I can stay far. Oh, I can pray hard, I can pray hard. I can drop on my knees before the problems start. I try my best to live like a righteous man. I try to read my scriptures, chant a couple psalms. I won't be like Solomon, lead a better life. Give me some wisdom and have a couple wife. I can pray hard, I can pray hard. I trying to live good cause I once was bad. Oh, I can pray hard, I can pray hard. I can drop on my knees before the problems start. Come on, woo! Oh, shucks. Come on. Ain't nothing wrong with that, you know. No. Check it. This gal passed my way in a mini dress. I look up to the sky, I say, Lord, is this another test? Cause these things they wearing, showing all their tail. This look like one test. This short man bound to fail. I can pray hard, I can pray hard. When trouble comes, boy, I can stay far. Oh, I can pray hard, I can pray hard. I can drop on my knees before the problems start. On the knees, insurance and you do test for the thing. You know you was a player, you know how you used to swing both ways. But when the nurse came to make her draw, why you fall like a little punk on the clinic floor? You better pray hard, oh, you better pray hard. When trouble comes, boy, you better run far. Oh, you better pray hard, I can pray hard. All the time I gotta drop on my knees before the problems start. Give me, go! Oh, shucks. Yes, man! You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. Check this. Now there's immigration problem, got Bahamian stress. But only the Lord can do something to clean up this mess. Politicians talking while our culture getting lost. They better remember who's the servant and who's their boss. They better pray hard. Oh, pray hard. Try and live good cause things could get bad. Oh, pray hard. Pray hard. I say, get on your knees before the problems start. Yes, man. He'll take away your troubles, make them disappear. When you want some answers, all you need is prayer. He'll keep you out of problems, there's no need to fear. Even help you solve them, someone's listening up there. One thing I know is what I ain't, and that is perfect, and I know saint. But if I see trouble coming, I'll just walk away. And if it persists, I'll get on my knees and pray. I can pray hard, I can pray hard. I trying to live good cause I once was bad. Oh, I can pray hard, that's true, pray hard. I can drop on my knees before the problems start. Oh, I can pray hard, I can pray hard. When trouble comes, boy, I can stay far. Yeah, I can pray hard, pray hard. I can drop on my knees before the problems start. Yes, man, pray hard. Yes, man, I can pray.
This need to be.
Yeah, Bahamas.
Early morning on the run, grab my bike, jump in my car, head for Western Air. Under Craft Fest over there.
Tonight, Eye on Fiona, we have team coverage of the Category 3 storm. Also, the latest on the Grand Lucayan deal. And later, persons on bail continue to present challenges for police. Eyewitness News starts now.
Eyewitness News is brought to you by BTC. Get all the internet you need for half the price when you bundle your internet and mobile. Conditions apply.
Conditions begin to worsen in the southern Bahamas. Good evening, everyone. I'm Janae Noel. Thanks so much for joining us. Category 3 Hurricane Fiona inching closer to the southeastern Bahamas after leaving a trail of devastation in Puerto Rico and now battering the Turks and Caicos Islands. Hurricane conditions, we are told, also slamming Grand Turk early this morning as the country's government imposed a curfew and urged people to flee from those flood-prone areas. The conditions are being described as life-threatening, with storm surges expected to rise water levels in the British territory by as much as 5 to 8 feet later tonight. Now, by this afternoon, the storm was centered about 30 miles north-northeast of North Caicos Islands, with hurricane force winds extending up to 30 miles from the center and tropical storm force winds extending up to 150 miles. Now, as residents in the southeastern Bahamas brace for hurricane conditions, officials at the National Emergency Management Agency, or NEMA, have activated the local command center. Our Tyler Simonet standing by live tonight, where she's speaking with officials on the latest. Good evening, Tyler.
Good evening, Janaea. Eyewitness News is here live at NEMA's headquarters on Gladstone Road, where NEMA is currently tracking the passage of Hurricane Fiona and how it will affect the Bahamas. Here we have Deputy Director of NEMA, Miss Gail Outen-Monker, who will give us an idea of what's happening here this evening.
Good evening, Bahamas. Yes, we're here at the NEOC, which has been activated, partially activated, since Saturday, 6 p.m. And on partial activation, we're here so that we can monitor the storm and any events that might transpire during this time. We do have the Royal Bahamas Defense Force here that is assisting us, along with the Met Office, Social Services, Ministry of Health, and local government. It's just a small contingent so that we'll be able to monitor the storm. And in monitoring the storm, we monitor those islands that would be basically most impacted, which is the southeastern islands, and the islands that, according to the Met Office, that would be most impacted would be the Mayaguana and Inagua. So as it stands now, Mayaguana has 3 shelters that they have actually activated since earlier today, which would be that of Betsy Bay, Abraham Bay, and Pirates Well. Also, as a precautionary measure, we had 10 persons that were airlifted into Exuma earlier today at the Exuma Foundation Resource Center, just so that they would be able to ride out the storm there. As we monitor the storm here, we're noticing that there has been some deterioration within the with rain and wind. Other than that, basically, they are riding out the storm pretty comfortably as we speak.
Can you tell us a little bit about the readiness of the shelters?
Okay, when we talk about the readiness of the shelters, for most of the southeastern islands, their shelters have been placed on standby, ready and waiting for persons to go into the shelters if need be. But at this time, only in Mayaguana, we have persons who are actually being sheltered other than those who have been sent into Exuma. And when we look at Betsy Bay, we have 11 persons and 7 adults are presently in Abraham Bay location, 3 in Pirates Well, but there's nobody at this time in Betsy Bay.
Thank you so much. Now, Janae, you just heard from the Deputy Director of NEMA. Now we're going to bring on the Chief Meteorological Officer at NEMA, Mr. Arnold King, who's going to give us an idea of what to expect from Hurricane Fiona.
Good afternoon. Well, Hurricane Fiona is presently moving parallel to the Southeast Bahamas. The nearest island, of course, was Mayaguana. That's right now about, the hurricane is about 65 miles east of Mayaguana and moving north-northwest at 8 miles per hour. We expect tropical storm conditions to continue to affect the Southeast Bahamas throughout the night and possibly early tomorrow morning. And Hurricane Fiona should pull away from the Bahamas, like I said, by maybe 12 a.m. In the morning, and continue on a path to the north-northwest and then eventually north and then northeast, and continue to move away from the Bahamas.
Now we know Hurricane Fiona strengthened from a Category 2 to a Category 3 currently. Is NEMA expecting any more strengthening of the storm?
Okay, the strengthening of the storm didn't really affect the Bahamas because the hurricane force winds were only 35 miles away from the center. So the Bahamas was not impacted by hurricane force winds. Even the storm is expected to strengthen even more as it pulls away from the Bahamas and become a Category 4 hurricane. But like I said, those winds wouldn't affect the Bahamas directly. We expect to get swells from Fiona days after it moves away from the Bahamas. So we should be impacted. The east coast of the Bahamas should be impacted by very large swells for a few days after the hurricane pulls away from the Bahamas.
Thank you so much, Mr. King. Okay. All right, Janeo, well, you just heard from NEMA officials, and rest assured that Eyewitness News will stay here for the entirety of the broadcast and bring you more updates. Reporting live from NEMA's headquarters on Glasson Road, I'm Tyler Simonet. Back to you on the desk, Janeo.
Thanks so much, Tyler. Meanwhile, Devontae Hanna has been on the island of Maguana since yesterday afternoon. And as you heard, they can expect some severe conditions. Residents we know evacuated today, and conditions we understand on the island are worsening. Devontae Hanna standing by live tonight. Devontae, what can you tell us?
Well, good evening, Janelle. We're coming to you live from Piratesville Primary School, which is a command center and shelter here in Maguana that is starting to feel those tropical storm conditions forecasted that extends up 150 miles away from the center of Category 3 Hurricane Fiona. Of course, that storm becoming a Category 3 overnight. It now packs maximum sustained gusts of up to 115 miles per hour. Forecasters even say that the storm can produce some up to 5 to 10 inches of rain, but here in Maguana, where they're experiencing those tropical storm conditions, as well as over the southeast Bahamas, they're going to feel some 1 to 4 inches of rain. This now raising concern for residents who say this island is very low-lying and that it is susceptible to flooding. The wind picking up, as you can see behind me, the rain now slapping me as well, and the trees, I only wish you can see the trees behind me dancing in the wind, Janea, as this island is now being plummeted by this storm. Of course, with residents, some of them not taking heed to those warnings to evacuate. Some of them deciding that they are going to stay home.
Well, we look at 1/5 there. I still ain't batting on up for that. You got to be over 150 for me to batten up, and you got to be a direct impact for me to batten up.
Residents seemingly torn on preparation as Hurricane Fiona makes its presence felt in Maguana after becoming the first major storm of the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season.
Are you prepared to go to a shelter if anything happens?
Yeah, if something has happened with flood, but this area don't even flood. So, if it's emergency, yeah, if I have to, but I ain't leaving to go.
Others flocking to shelters in hope of safety, like 68-year-old Easily Dane, who's lived in Maguana all her life.
Only me one. So my son passed, so only me one in there now. So that's why if there's any hurricane or anything, me one don't stay there. I come out if they have any shelter and thing, I come out and be in the shelter.
She's joined by 16 others who will ride out the storm at St. James Native Baptist Church, which shelter manager Pastor Ulysses Brooks says is structurally sound, but admits it has its challenges.
She's pretty strong, except that, the roof, I've been here many years, part of it. Because where we are now is the newer part that was added on some years ago. But I'll say, in all hurricane, we have to trust in the Lord, to keep us.
Forecasters say residents in the southeast Bahamas, particularly those in Maguana and Inagua, can expect gusty winds, heavy rains, and localized flooding. This as residents struggle in a race against the clock to complete final preparations for what is to come amid challenges including a plywood shortage.
Yeah, they should be able to block things with flying and to hit the window. It will block it from damaging the windows. Yeah, it's a good thing. But like Junior said, we could use scrap for now until we can do better,
Well, Janaea, I can tell you at this moment, we are feeling the gust of Hurricane Fiona, even though it's just tropical storm winds. As you can see, I'm even being pushed by this wind. We can feel gusts up to some 50 miles per hour here. But what makes this all worse is that the island has been without power since about 2 p.m. today, or even late around 3 p.m. today. Sorry, Janaea, but police were called to the scene of a fire pole of 2 lamp poles being burnt, and they had to out that fire, now leaving the entire island without power. Janaea, we are in a situation as this continues to go on throughout the night. But for now, we're going to stay live, and we're going to invite our audience to stay tuned to all of our social media pages for updates on this storm. But we are going to say goodnight here from Mayaguana. I'm Devontae Hanna, sending it back to you on the desk, Janaea.
Certainly our prayers and thoughts are with the team now in Mayaguana. Thank you, Devontae, for that report. Having to deal now with no power on the island, this coupled with worsening conditions on the island of Mayaguana. We hopefully will be able to make contact with Devontae and Ryan in a later broadcast tonight. Well, residents in Ragged Island also under a storm warning. They're preparing for the worst by protecting their homes and preparing to relocate to a shelter if needed. Now, following Hurricane Irma in 2017, Ragged Island was deemed uninhabitable by NEMA. The chief consular of the island, Alfred Francis, says that residents are more prepared now than ever.
As it is, we've been cleaning any loose debris from around the area. We've put on some storm shelters. The shelter, a hurricane shelter, the backup generator. We have a can that's on. We have our VHF radios, flashlights, and water. Our supplies here, just in the event that we waste come to waste, that we would have to go to the shelter. We're more prepared than we've been in the with the past few storms after, we've come much further with preparations.
Still trying to make contact with residents in those southern islands. They're obviously challenged with some strong weather conditions, but the chief consular of Crooked Island, David Ferguson, telling Eyewitness News that the island is not experiencing any adverse weather conditions at this time, with wind speeds only in the mid-20s with those rain bands. He noted that residents, though, have made the necessary preparations in the event that Fiona makes a turn.
We're not experiencing too much heavy winds. We have overcast skies with rain. It's like in bands, the rain bands. We know that those coming through. Those are coming through. But the winds are still down at about 25 miles per hour, maybe less during showers. But we're pretty good. We're not having too much advice weather condition at the moment. The power, the commercial power supply is still on. We haven't have had any problem with that since the start of this. But and as well as the telecommunication, we haven't had any failure in those services since.
Well, storm conditions picking up and worsening in the Turks and Caicos Islands as Hurricane Fiona continues to intensify. Dr. Holly Hamilton, she's the director of the Turks and Caicos Met Office, says this morning the Providenciales area was experiencing tropical storm conditions along with heavy rainfall. Now, the island began experiencing those storm conditions early today.
Looking at the IR imagery, we could see that the strong thunderstorms that surround the core of Fiona is moving in towards the more western islands. Last night, the islands of Grand Turk and South Caicos would have gotten the brunt of it. We expect that these conditions will persist throughout today, going into tonight.
Well, following his official visit to London for the state funeral of Queen Elizabeth, The second, Prime Minister Philip Davis, traveling to New York for the 77th United Nations General Assembly. Now today he was a part of the New York Times Climate Week panel conversation with the World Bank President and the Managing Director of the IMF on climate financing. It's an issue that the nation's leader has been pushing since coming into office.
All pledges, all what I call committers, who promise that they're going to make available the monies that they said. For example, in 2015, it's supposed to be $100 billion each year. None of it has been realized to date. We who are most vulnerable, pledge fatigued. We need action, and we need to find ways and means to have the industrialized world, who have been countries who have been burning fossil fuel for centuries, that have this cloud of carbon in the air. We need the time for us to let them pay the bill for this now. In fact, I held a UNFCCC conference in my country several weeks ago for the purpose of getting the Caribbean region to be able to speak in one voice. And what's coming out of that we'll take to COP26, for example, is that 2% should be taxed on all oil exports and put into a fund to assist vulnerable countries.
Global oil exports.
Global oil exports.
There's a provocative solution.
That is one we're going to be putting forward.
Well, be sure to continue to watch the Eyewitness News Network here on the channel 224, cable channel 112 for more of our storm coverage tracking Hurricane Fiona. In other news tonight, the tourism minister responding to demands to fully explain yet another extension in the due diligence process for the sale of the Grand Lucine Resort. Our Leah Cooper has more in this next report.
Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, Chester Cooper, addresses concerns raised in the public domain about a further 7-day extension to the due diligence period for the sale of the Grand Lucine Resort in Grand Bahama to the Electra Hospitality Group. Cooper asked reporters ahead of the weekly cabinet meeting today to appreciate that this matter's under contract.
And this is what we call a due diligence period. During the due diligence period, the buyer would go and do studies and investigations, ask questions, and come back and seek to negotiate based on the information they find, the results of their studies, etc.
Last week, former chairman of Lucine Renewal Holdings Limited, Michael Scott, called on the government to provide a full explanation as to why the deal has yet to close.
We have extended the due diligence period by 7 days. That ends sometime next week. At that point, we will be able to say more, appreciate that it's an active negotiation, active discussions, and therefore it's not in the best interest of the Bahamian people to discuss that publicly at this point.
Now, as it relates to the Grand Bahama International Airport, Cooper says the government has narrowed down the list of potential developers to 2. He adds that these 2 options are credible and funded. He also says that the 7-member Freeport Airport Development Board is looking at entering a public-private partnership to design, build, finance, and manage the Grand Bahama International Airport.
This is going to be a world-class airport. This process takes time to be done properly. And we want to ensure that we select the bidder who has the vision, the resources, who understands resiliency, and can execute quickly. So we expect over the course of the next few weeks that the board will make a final selection, and then we'll be able to make an announcement to the public.
The Grand Bahama Airport sustained extensive damages during Hurricane Dorian in 2019 and was purchased by the Bahamas government in 2021 through the Airport Authority. Completion of the redevelopment of the airport is slated for 2025. Leah Cooper, Eyewitness News.
Well, if you've got a news tip or if you've seen news in the making, call the Eye on News hotline at 397-6397. We also invite you to send your letters to the editor for publication on all of our social media platforms at eyewitnessnewsbahamas@gmail.com. And if you're watching on our Facebook or YouTube page, share your thoughts about today's stories. in the comments section. We want to hear from you. We are just getting started in Eyewitness News tonight, but when we come back, a new task force for the Royal Bahamas Police Force. We've got more on that story coming up. And later, the new prison is on the way. We've got more on that right after this break.
What? Check old girl, boy. Say she getting married.
Bud Light, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
Welcome back. Here's a look at your Eyewitness News gas tracker. You'll get the cheapest Shell at $6.29, Rubis $6.30 per gallon, Esso $6.31. Well, as police continue to wage war on crime, a special gang task force will be launched in the coming weeks. This, according to the nation's top cop, Laurencia Smith, has more on this.
Roughly 95 homicides have been recorded for this year, and police officers are pressed to tackle the vexing issue on crime. Commissioner of Police Clayton Fernando telling members of the press that he's prepared to launch a special task force in conjunction with other law enforcement agencies and U.S. counterparts.
Task force, which is focusing on firearms trafficking, that should be ready. Their office, which is right below us, should be ready within the next 2 to 3 weeks. See that same initiative happening in Grand Bahama as well. We have started the gang unit in Grand Bahama, and that task force will eventually go into Grand Bahama as well.
Fernanda provided additional information on the gang culture in the nation's second city.
The intel, just about 3 active groups are down there. We know who they are, and we are paying attention to that. We are in communication, collaboration with our unit from here and also in GB, and they will be collaborating, and when we have to move in, I will send teams down there to go and assist and to disrupt what is going on.
With a number of homicides occurring in areas which police have deemed as hotspots, including Bean and Grantstown, Camp Road and Nassau Village, the top cop committed to putting more boots on the ground to dismantle any criminal activity.
In that area, our intel is working for us. It is speaking to us, and as the intel comes in, we put a plan of action in place to disrupt what is going on. Our saturated patrols in hotspots. Either we will catch the individuals in the act, it will be a shootout, because we know that these individuals have no respect for law and order. So our officers are alert. Either we will catch them in the act, or we will catch them leaving the scene.
Despite the inroads are being made against crime, the commissioner charged that high-powered weapons and weapons with extension clips remain the weapons of choice for criminals.
Within the week, a total of 8 weapons. 2 is not here. So you could see what is out there on our streets. So it is working, the intel is coming in, and we are executing, and we are making some great headways as we continue to move.
Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Well, still talking news from the Crime Beat tonight, Police Commissioner Clayton Fernandez says they continue to be challenged with individuals released on bail committing serious crimes. This despite many of those people being electronically monitored.
Within the week, we charged 38 young men who was being monitored and is on bail for serious crime, for murder, armed robbery, possession of unlicensed firearm, who had breached their bail application. They had breached, either they let their battery just run dead and it's off the grid. And we have strong information that they intentionally run their battery dead to go off the grid and commit crime. We have arrested and charged a number of persons connected who are on bail, let their battery run dead, they go and commit crime, and then come back on the grid. What more to justify the reason why he or she can't stay behind bars? What more do you need if you let your battery go dead and go there and commit crime? You think that individual should be given a second chance to do it again? No, man.
Well, to combat this issue, the commissioner says he'll be putting more focused attention on those individuals while also increasing manpower.
We have stepped up our game, and it's a reason why the court give them bail and they are being monitored for the police to do just that, to know where they are at all times. They have curfew, and if they don't honor that, then we have to put them back and keep them behind bars. They are the individuals who continue to give us problems. We charge them. They charge firstly with the offense. They get bail and still continue to breach their bail. Something is wrong with that, ladies and gents. But we will not let that deter us. As they come, we will deal with them and put them back. But the record will show where the police did their part.
Well, while the effects of inflation are being felt by the general public, prison officials are finding it more and more difficult to support the needs of inmates at the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services. The acting commissioner of corrections, Don Clare, revealing to Eyewitness News that the cost to feed inmates has more than doubled over the years, and they're also feeling the pinch.
Trust you me, inflation has reaped tremendous havoc on the Bahamas Department of Corrections. For example, just yesterday, I got a call from the financial secretary who was advising me that he have seen a major spike in the food cost at the Bahamas Department of Corrections. For example, many years ago, an inmate per day may have cost us about $10. Right now, it's up to about $26 a day now to feed an inmate.
Well, Commissioner Clare expressed that he's grateful that the inmate population is less than it was a few years ago with the ever-growing cost. He also reveals it's not just the inmates that are being affected.
Of living is also having an effect on staff. The cost of gasoline prices and so forth. So it's not easy, and hopefully we will start going into developing our own food line, and also try to go into areas whereby we can have industries to help ourselves. So instead of us being a burden to society, we would wish to become a revenue generator for society.
Well, a date has been set for the completion of a new prison facility. Officials telling Eyewitness News that in 2024, that's the targeted year to bring this state-of-the-art facility to life. Our Tyler Simonet has more from the prison commissioner.
The plan for a new prison complex for the Bahamas has finally materialized, with officials confirming it should be completed in a year and a half. This much coming from Acting Commissioner of Corrections, Don Clare. The facility will have 820 beds and, according to Clare, will help officers make great strides towards the ultimate goal of rehabilitating offenders.
The prison is scheduled to be completed within 17 to 18 months. We just had a meeting this morning, and plans are well on the way in terms of what we are going through now is to finalize now the detailed drawings for the facility. One of the last features that we have to do now is to design the kitchen for the facility, but it is a totally modern, sophisticated facility, and it would be something that the public will be proud of.
Clare believes the new facility will fix a myriad of issues that prisoners and officers may face.
It will eliminate escape attempts. It will eliminate contraband smuggling. It will eliminate us being cited by international bodies for being inhumane to inmates. So this facility, I can't wait for it to be finished.
Despite this new building on the way, BDOCs will continue to be upgraded to address a number of shortfalls, including what some international reports have deemed inhumane.
When I speak of inhumane, I simply speak about some areas of maximum security prison, because it can't be humane if you don't have toilets in the cell. It can't be humane if you only able to shower once a day by coming out, right? So that's why it's good that this new facility is coming on stream, whereby an inmate now can have the liberty to shower whenever he feels like, because the shower will be in a cell.
Now, recently, a prisoner at BDOCs did escape the facility and was later found in the Seabreeze area. Commissioner Clare reassuring the public that this new prison facility will prevent events like this from happening in the future, and he says that particular matter is still under review.
That incident, it is safe to say that protocol and procedures were not followed, and an internal inquiry, which is headed by our Deputy Commissioner, hopefully will be releasing a report to the Minister shortly on that. But again, it is safe to say that protocols were not followed.
Minister of National Security Wayne Munro has gone on record to say that the facility will cost Bahamian taxpayers between $35 million and $40 million. Tyler Simonet, Eyewitness News.
Well, the Bahamas Public Managers Union and the University of the Bahamas signing a long-awaited industrial agreement today. Laurencia Smith has the details on this.
A new industrial agreement inked today with the Public Management Union and the University of the Bahamas, almost 4 years later, as the agreement covered the period of 2018 to 2023. With 1 year left before they're back to the negotiation table, BMU President Cassandra Lewis-Cartwright says that the union was pleased with the process.
You would recognize from all of the other contracts that started from the beginning of the year, they have all been 3-year contracts. We were on a cycle prior to that, which was the cycle of the 5-year contract. And so moving forward, a determination will be made between the university and the Public Managers Union as to the way forward. So we will not hold fast or make a commitment to you at this point in time as to whether we will do a 3-year or 5-year. Whatever is in the best interest of both parties will be the direction that we go in.
The agreement saw an increase in benefits for members in 4 areas, including a review of increments. Lewis-Cartwright, however, declined to reveal the dollar value.
We would have seen the development and in training in the financial, with regard to the finances, increased. A mentorship program for middle managers, a sabbatical for middle managers, and we would have improved the grievance process and strengthen it to ensure that that process is properly processed. Also, we have agreed to an increment administration, which we should be getting the results very shortly.
The University of the Bahamas President, Dr. Eric Rowland, says that the university will continue to foster strong relations with the union as they continue to enhance the education system here at the university.
The university will continue to support our managers through learning, leadership, and service. As a result, this creates a diverse workforce, a dedicated staff, and harmonious workplace where people can thrive. We value our partnership with the PMU.
Meanwhile, the chair of the University Board of Trustees, Allison Maynard Gibson, says that the board recognized the hard work and diligence and perseverance of those involved in the negotiation process.
This agreement provides for the heightening of productivity and performance, professional development, training, and expanding of the competencies of our management.
Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Well, the University of the Bahamas, their student enrollment has remained steady throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. This much coming from the University of the Bahamas President, Dr. Eric Rowland, today. He expressed that this is something that the university is pleased about.
By our managers and our leaders and our staff, we are at about 4,300 students as of today, and that is remaining flat at the moment. We have a strategic enrollment plan in the works that we started working on about a month ago, where we are looking at how that is going to progress into the future. We're not ready to talk about the data from that plan yet, but I would like to say I'm very proud of our faculty and our staff and our managers who have managed to keep the enrollment steady. And that, as you may know, contrary to almost any other university in the world where enrollment has dropped off after COVID, we have stayed steady. And I think that's a real point of pride for the UB and all of those of us who work here.
Well, still to come in Eyewitness News tonight, the Deputy Prime Minister talks safety protocols following that shark attack. We've got more on that, but first, here's a check on tonight's weather forecast.
This portion of the news is brought to you by J.S. Johnson, Insurance Agents and Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
You're looking at live pictures tonight along Gladstone Road, where the temperature is right around 90 degrees with an expected dip to 77. This is Eyewitness News. Welcome back. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism and Investments and Aviation, Chester Cooper, hitting back at the opposition today after the Free National Movement chair, Dr. Dwayne Sands, called on government to implement certain safety protocols for tourism water operators following a shark attack that left an American national dead some 2 weeks ago. Sands added that this incident was an opportunity to consider better ways to safeguard visitors participating in similar activities. Well, to that, the Deputy Prime Minister says that the FNM is always, quote, looking for attention, adding that shark attacks aren't new for the country or around the world.
It's not very frequent, but still it's an issue that we are to consistently be concerned about. We have engaged the stakeholders in the tour industries to ensure that proper protocols are in place. There are certain basic common sense things that can be done in relation to managing this process to ensure, for example, we're not feeding at the time that people are swimming, things like that. And I think some of the shark attacks that we have seen, for example, there was one in Staniel Key a few months ago. It was in an area where they feed sharks, and there were signs that it was a no swim zone. So sometimes I think we can do more to have even more prominent signage, for example.
Despite the opposition's concerns, he says the reality is that the Bahamas has fared reasonably well.
Let me say, though, that our thoughts and prayer continue to be for the family that was affected. We, at the Ministry of Tourism, firstly sought to ensure that the family understood that we were there for them, and we did all we could to make a very bad situation better, and that's been our primary focus. So we're working along with our colleagues in terms of the Ministry of Transport to ensure that we continue the dialogue, the training and the education of tour operators who might be able to help in situations like this when things go wrong.
Well, stay right with us. Randy Smith has the latest from the Sportsplex. Good evening, Randy.
Janaea Jonquil Jones and the Connecticut Sun came up short in the WNBA finals over the weekend. Also, the UB Mingos men's cross-country team competed internationally. Hear how they did coming up in Eyewitness Sports.
Once upon a time, not too far away, CBS
sports in the Bahamas. Good evening, everyone. I'm Randy Smith, and welcome to Eyewitness Sports. Hitting off tonight, Jonquil Jones and the Connecticut Sun came up short in the WNBA Finals over the weekend. The Sun fell 78-71 to the Las Vegas Aces in Game 4 of the best-of-5 series. Jones had 13 points and 8 rebounds. In the loss, Chelsea Gray, she led all scorers with 20 points in the win.
This team has a lot of pride. This team, everybody's made sacrifices for us to be able to be back here. And like Courtney said, the chips didn't fall the way we wanted them to, but there's a lot of selflessness and a lot of sacrifices to be able to have this team back together and make this run. While it's tough and it's disappointing, we get to say that we were one of the last 2 teams standing and playing for a championship. And so I got a lot of pride and a lot of joy with the moments that I've had with this team and how the ladies have been ready to play every night.
Well, a lot happening with the University of the Bahamas sports teams. First up, the Mingo's men's team competed at the Marital Cross Country Classic over the weekend. Leaving Joseph led the team to a 13th place finish against a tough field. Mingo's coach Edna Roll talks about the competition.
This meet was really competitive compared to 2019, where we got 10th overall. Those guys were running under 5 minutes, under 6 minutes, 5:30 minute a mile and 5 miles. So nonetheless, we did well. Levain, who was our top runner, he did a personal best, 32 minutes with an average of 6 minutes a mile. So 13 overall, I'll take that. We know we got a lot more to do with getting our distance in and trying to get our team up to par with these guys, because you have a team of 10. And then 10 of those guys are beating our top guy, so it kind of hurts us in the numbers because it's pushing our numbers back when the 5 of our members have to cross the line in order for us to team score.
Also, the Mingo's men's soccer team picked up a 2-0 win over Baja FC in the Bahamas Football Association season opener over the weekend. Mingo striker Ronaldo Green scored 2 goals in the win. UB prepares to take on international competition this week.
Good to see the little habits that we've been working on be consistent in the matches. We had a few more freshmen added to the squad, and they performed pretty well. Again, it's a building process, but it was good to see them come in and function well within the system and the team. The midfield stayed connected, our back line was consistent, kept the ball well, and our front 3 worked hard. And we gave them some specific instructions for the matches today, and they carried it out.
Well, that does it for us in sports, but stay tuned. Eyewitness News continues in a moment. I'm Randy Smith. Have a great evening.
Eyewitness News.
We elevate, elevate, we elevate, elevate, we elevate, elevate, we elevate.
I'm Corval Pfeiffer. Our latest installment in our now ongoing innovation series featured a recent masterclass session. And oh, how exciting was this? Small business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs coming face to face with a cross-sector of specialists from a variety of fields, making for an incredible day of exchange.
Today, we decided to say, you know what, leading up to Innovation Conference or our Small Business Month, we wanted to host a session where small business owners can actually be in person in a workshop setting where they can take all of the tools that they need to really understand what does it mean to get digital. And we put the experts in the room so that they can actually ask the questions and work on their business in a live setting.
Personally, I actually love the opportunity that I was given. I'm a small business entrepreneur myself, and I appreciate the opportunity, like many of the attendees, to learn from other presenters, learn that how I can actually grow my business. And I also appreciate the opportunity to share my knowledge and my expertise with others because I want to see their businesses succeed as well.
I love that BTC is putting on this innovation masterclass because we need it. Small businesses, I consider myself a small business as well. And so I'm in there taking notes, jotting down things from the other presenters just because this is something that we need. We need this constant flow of information to help us grow our businesses, grow our brands, and to make more money at the end of the day. I like to talk about money because it's all about making money and growing. And so I really feel like BTC has always been that company that has been pouring back into small businesses, pouring back into the community. So I'm super excited to be here and I want to come to the next one.
BTC's business team sees nothing small about positioning your business for success. Go to our social media pages right now and connect with our team to see how they can help your business grow. These are still the moments that move us. I'm Corval Pfeiffer. Be well and be back here next. BTC Connection.
We elevate, elevate.
Before we wrap up news tonight, we do have some news coming in from the courts. A 14-year-old student of the Anatol Rogers School was charged today with attempted murder. That's in relation to that stabbing that took place last week, Monday. That would have been September 12th. On the school's campus, a fight broke out during the lunch break hour. Now, we are told from the courts today that that juvenile has been remanded to the Simpson Penn Home for Boys until his next court hearing in December. That wraps up news this Monday, but be sure to tune into the Eyewitness News Network on all of our social media platforms for the latest on Hurricane Fiona, still beating in the Turks and Caicos Islands and making its way in the southeast Bahamas. We do have a team live on the ground, and we'll be bringing you the latest updates. Coming up and Beyond the Headlines with Shanique Miller, she has a recap of everything the Queen. That's coming up in Beyond the Headlines. It starts right after this. That does it for us here at Eyewitness News. It's certainly been a pleasure having you in our company tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Janae Noel saying good night and be safe, everyone.
State Minister for Education Zane Lightbourne and Education Director Marcellus Taylor, along with a number of other education officials, accompanied Education Minister Glenys Hannah Martin during a recent tour of schools in North and Central Andros.
Our children are happy to be back in school, which they express for the most part. The teachers are ready and geared up to go. There aren't many distractions at the start. It seems like everyone is in the interest or has interest in just getting to work. To see the diversity in what students aspire to do, and also their ability to articulate that in a way when it's asked or when they themselves ask questions. It's an awesome experience to see that the learning process is still being engaged at a high level.
Director Taylor expressed similar sentiments, and he also noted the Department of Education's expectations, which were reiterated during the tour.
What we want students and teachers to maximize the opportunity. And I know that it might sound like a very generic answer, but the reason why I give such an answer is because every school and every student is at a different point. We know that that happens ordinarily, but especially coming out of COVID, we've had some students who participated in schooling at different levels and with different levels of success. So what we have advised all school leaders to do is to set the WIG, the wildly important goal. That way, at the beginning of the year, everyone is determining what is a reasonable point of success that they should reach, a target, and that during the course of the year, they systematically work towards getting that target.
For Ed Talk, I'm Adama Williams.
Hey, this is yours truly, Joe Cool's rapping 103.5 to be.
Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Marijuana braces for Fiona. Prime Minister Davis is in New York to attend a climate change event. The Prime Minister might have shed some light on where the country is headed in terms of a republic while in London at the weekend. We talk about that. And the marital rape discussion deepens. We have one outspoken pastor's point of view. And also this evening, Arawak X is expanding its crowdfunding opportunities and the companies are reporting success. while many Bahamians are becoming empowered. This is the headlines. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Praying and hoping for the best. That from resident rainmaker, Category 3 hurricane the island. The island is expected to experience tropical storm, but based on experience, no one should take storms lightly. Island administrator told Eyewitness News online. Residents, as much as possible, in spite of the challenges, apply wood and proper shutters to secure buildings and homes. Tropical storm conditions include strong winds, heavy rains, and flooding. Well, beyond the headlines, Eyewitness News, Eyewitness Line will impact on the surveillance. You want to stay tuned to our network throughout this evening and into tomorrow morning if necessary, as we bring you the latest from those islands. Meanwhile, world leaders, royals from European countries, governors general, turned up in London for the state funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. Prime Minister Davis had the privilege of meeting with the King Charles III and express his and the country's condolences. Since Her Majesty's death, talks of the Bahamas becoming a republic have increased. However, it was interesting to hear the thoughts of Prime Minister Davis after his meeting with King Charles. Where the Prime Minister's comments came, Davis said the Bahamas was happy that the United Kingdom came to its rescue or help immediately after Dorian. He also talked about climate change and views on climate change as well, and the King Prime Minister Davis also said the Bahamas like the United Kingdom. And so we're going to jump right in because I want to know what the panel thinks this all means. I came to my own conclusions, but let's just hear some of theirs. And so welcome to the show this evening. Beyond the Headlines correspondent Levin Miller, Beyond the Headlines contributor Cassia Stewart. Good evening, gentlemen, and it's good to have you both here this evening.
Hello, Janine. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Did you all tune into anything over the weekend? Any of the coverage? Your thoughts?
Well, I know Levin is an extreme royalist, and he's going to sing the praises of the king. But I thought the ceremony was amazing. It was just simply amazing. The British know how to have a funeral. They know what pomp and pageantry. And I want to be the first one to call dibs on I want to be buried at Westminster Abbey next, if I go first. But I think the funeral was really, really, really an amazing thing. I think we've never seen anything like that in our lifetime. And, I think the British know how to put it together. And so, but this thing we call, we're talking about whether or not the Bahamas will leave the British Empire. We talked about that the last time, Shanique, and I talked about making sure that how do we make a decision once the pros outweighs the cons. And whatever King Charles told the Honorable Prime Minister made sure gave us a lot of pros, because whatever he said to him, he's now changing his talk. Mm-hmm. And so, but it was always my position that, the British was always the first one every time we have a storm. They would always have a ship waiting to come in to rescue, to help, and so on. And so allies like that in the wider Commonwealth, it's important for us to have as a small island nation. Mm-hmm. We are a small island nation, 400,000 plus people, but we need allies. So, but when we are part of the Commonwealth as a larger body, we get more done. Now, I'll take you back in the 80s when we had the issue with Nelson Mandela. Who led the charge in the Commonwealth? It was Sir Lyndon Pinland who led the charge along with all of the Commonwealth nation. And they was able to bring South Africa, which was a major power at the time, to its knees to free Nelson Mandela. That's only because we were a part of the Commonwealth of Nations. Mm-hmm. Now, if we now extract ourselves from all of that and we want to become a republic, we stand on our own. Mm-hmm. We have no allies. And I had an opportunity to be a part of the United Nations at some point. I was a Goodwill ambassador. And every opportunity we had, the Bahamas never spoke by itself at the United Nations. It was always a part of a bigger group. Either it was the G77, the G87, the G something. And so smaller countries are always thrown into these bigger groups in order to get consensus on any issues in the United Nations. That being said, though, we have to look at the strengths of being a part of the Commonwealth nations and seeing moving forward, how do we now maximize that? How do we get the best out of that? And make sure benefit our country. And so I think that, I don't think we should move anywhere. I don't think we should follow the trend that we said last time. And let's stick where we are. Let's build on where we are.
You're right, because there must be some benefits to being a member of the Commonwealth, as we discussed last time. Levin, your thoughts. What I like and what Cassius kind of alluded to, and I know you noticed this because you noticed every detail, the order, the respect. I mean, you could imagine Bahamians online towing that long line and wrapping around and all that stuff, and there be not one fight that we saw.
14 hours.
For many people, David Beckham, who figure he's this major, huge celebrity, you know, come on now, you know, Tingham them wasn't going to stand on no line.
Well, Shanique, you know, I am never shocked when I see the majesty and regal splendor that is the British monarchy. I mean, they've done it for 1,000 years. Just look at the edifices they've built. Whether it is the Westminster Abbey, or whether it is Balmoral Castle, whether it is Buckingham Palace, every inch of their existence is nothing but magnificence, and there's really no way to not be awed by it. You saw everyone, like you said, knew exactly where their foot placements were, and to think about this, Shanique, if you look at members of the family like Prince Andrew, a man obviously almost overtaken by his emotion, stands at attention as the hearse carts his beloved mother away, and because of his dedication to the crown, understands that his human failings will not surpass his dedication to duty. You saw it in the king. The king bit his lip, and body language experts have been kind of vacillating about this over the past couple of days. He almost bit the side of his lip into a hole, but he understood that a king cannot be shaken. And
so he needed to still maintain that posture of strength.
Yes.
And even though he became emotional, and because you would figure him out by now at watching his father, and he's an emotional, meaning he's going to show emotion, meaning cry, in which he did. But again, you're right. It was so admirable to see it all, and then the kids. William's kids, Charlotte and her brother, both shared. She broke down, and he shared a tear. But it really, I'll tell you this: they must have some special training, and and really was just so admirable to see the strength of the monarchy on display, as we saw with having those two younger kids attend that service. It spoke volumes because, of course, you know, the talks of many countries aborting and abolishing the monarchy and the U.S. Getting in, it didn't belong, just talking about that as well. It really was good just to sort of see that display of succession and of strength, even.
It was a show of their British might. They you know, people look at it as pomp and pageantry, right? But I don't think people are aware of how brawny one must be to be able to kind of put your physical human body in that kind of situation. And so we're talking about men in neck-high tunics, long-sleeved, right, with God knows how many clips and buttons and badges all over them, in boots that constrict the natural flow of your foot, so much so that many times once you take them off, you're unable to put them back on. And if you look at, I mean, the pallbearers, they were flawless. Do you know the kind of physical human strength it takes to lift a casket with a turned down forearm neck high? I mean, and you see them do it, and it is because these are the things that matter to them. To march for miles while pulling a casket along. Did you realize that the casket for quite a while was pulled by manpower? Did you realize that?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If we tried that in the Bahamas, 1/3 of the defense force would report sick tomorrow, right after the funeral, right? I'm not saying they wouldn't show up. I'm saying that sick bay would be full of a sick slip tomorrow. But, I mean, these people see this thing as a devotion to duty. And then I ask somebody this, right? If you look at what they've built in 1,000 years, how do you not agree that maybe they should be the monarchy? Look at the Westminster Abbey. 800 years old, I think it is. Look at the sports center on wherever this road here is. 6 years old, maybe? Falling apart. Every shining element, instrument, accoutrement inside the Westminster are sterling, shining, I mean, unbelievably. The architecture still standing perfectly in place. How do they do these? How do they build these systems?
How do they do it?
I think one word, discipline. You know, they are a disciplined society. And I think when they gave us the Constitution, they put a secret word in our Constitution, in our preamble, but we somehow not even paid attention to it. You know, our national success will be guaranteed by self-discipline. And I think once we understand that self-discipline, we can have the very same thing. There's no difference between us and them. It's the discipline that is the difference. We are an undisciplined society. And so when you see the order, you see the structure, you see the majesty, it's all disciplined. They were all disciplined in what they did, how they moved, how they stepped. And so for us as a society, we need to move towards a disciplined society. And they hid it in our Constitution, but we somehow never read it. Our national success will be guaranteed by a national commitment to self-discipline. Industry, but I want to talk about self-discipline is the key.
I actually think this king has a wonderful opportunity to be very popular very quickly in the Commonwealth. He's the first changing of the guard at the monarch level or at the crown level in 70 years. She is, in fact, the longest reigning British monarch. She's possibly the longest reigning woman anything on the planet. She recently eclipsed Queen Victoria, who I think did 64 or 65 years on the throne. And so I think all Commonwealth nations where Her Majesty or where the Crown is still the head of state ought to see September 19th as a national day of recognition or a Commonwealth day of recognition for the life and the service of Elizabeth II. We are now going into the post-Elizabetherian era. And if you consider the fact that no other British monarch has decolonized the monarchy the way she has, if you consider the evolution of the monarchy, bringing it into reach of the common man, all under her hand, if you consider the fact that the monarchy now allows itself to be human, and so there are divorces that are out in the public, if you consider the fact that she has been at the negotiation table with at least 15 prime ministers of Britain and about 430 prime ministers in the Commonwealth, I think 12 presidents of the United States of America, if you consider all of the history this one human being has affected or has had some insight or influence over. Because I don't imagine that when a president of the United States of America gets a phone call in the Oval Office and is told that Her Majesty the Queen is on the phone, that he tells her he's in a meeting. And so I believe that as tempers flared all throughout history, if you remember, she oversaw the tumultuous years with Churchill when London was almost overtaken by the Germans. And all of that culminating a life experience, I don't understand why he wouldn't just come out and as a matter of a declaration as King of the Commonwealth, make that one of his first declarations, which I think will gain him great popularity in the Commonwealth.
You're absolutely, great point, you're right. Let's talk about Prime Minister Davis as we move this conversation along. You watched the interview that we are referring to with Prime Minister Davis after he met with King Charles. And what do you suppose the Prime Minister is saying when he reports that King Charles, and who we know is a supporter of climate change, of preserving the environment and all that stuff? It's been reported about his strict habits himself in his areas that he lives, and now, of course, he now is in charge of palaces and castles, etc. But what do you suppose he is saying when he reports support on climate change from King Charles and that the Bahamas needs allies, particularly in the face of talk of a republic?
Well, I think his support basically means more ceremonial than anything else. I'm not sure you're getting any tangible monetary support from King Charles because, of course, Britain doesn't operate it. That has to come through cabinet if you want monetary support. But I think, you know, both Charles and Davis holds this issue on climate change. And you know, while I think it's critically important, though, I think Mr. Davis is doing it the wrong way, in my opinion. I don't think a leader of a nation should be going around from different countries looking for money because what they pledge in the long run. You know, I know that these first world countries pledge considerable amount of money for climate change for countries like the Bahamas and the Maldives and so on and so on. However, we don't build our hopes on that. If we get it, we get it. But we don't build our nation on that. We build our nation on building our agriculture sector. We build our nation on building our educational system. We build our nation building our technological infrastructure, on trade. That's how we build our nation, not going around the world looking for free money. That's not how we build our nation. Now, if they decide to give us extra money because they figure they mess up the world, then that's fine. But we don't go around. Your day-to-day job is not to go around begging for money. Your job is to making sure that we strengthen all of these industries that we have in the Bahamas. That's your job. That's what we hire you to do.
So you're saying that the Prime Minister, even now as he is in New York, it really could have been
He's pushing,
time well
he's devoting considerable amount of time to this issue on free money, okay? And while everybody likes free money, particularly us of this color skin, we like free money, I think that you're building a lazy country when you go that way. In order for us to be a successful country, we have to build all sectors of our society: agriculture, fishing, education, technology, all of these infrastructure, hand in hand, building a united force to be reckoned with. Now you get, let's say they give you $200 million. You spend that, and then what? You still get problems and so on. But if you build your industry organically, nobody could touch you over the next 50 years. If you strengthen the educational system and you put the Bahamas as #1 in the region in education, who can take that from us? We have 8% arable land in the Bahamas, right? So now if we grow an agriculture sector that'll be able to rival anywhere in the Caribbean, #1 in agriculture, where we could feed not just ourselves, but we're also exporting to Jamaica and St. Lucia and the kids, who could take that from us? But if we wait for free money, we'll become a lazy bum nation, and that's what we already are. And that's what I hate.
We're dissimilar in our position. I think that the Prime Minister is trying something that's not been tried before. I've not ever heard any Prime Minister before him go toward free money in the economy at this
sort of
level,
just sitting there.
right? On the point of the king not giving out any money, the royal family donates millions of dollars a year in charitable events. As a matter of fact, many of them happen to be the grand commanders and that kind of thing of various charities. And I think again, as we look at the monarchy, the new evolving faces of the monarchy, none less than Prince William, now Prince of Wales, has said, that relationships evolve and friendships endure. And I think we're going to see a bit of that as we see the transition of the king. He's not going to be a lot like his mother in many ways, and then in many ways he will be a lot like his mother. And so hopefully he takes the nuggets of good and he's able to do some things a lot less formally than Her Majesty did, because he realizes that he has the power through decree and proclamation to do so. Now, let's go back to the Prime Minister, though. I think the Prime Minister is doing exactly what they promised. That is trying to put some real effort into the blue economy and the green economies. He realizes that there is some funding out there in the world that he doesn't have to generate on his own. I believe that having the top chair make these trips guarantees for me that it's not field trips for some minister that's growing too big for his britches, for him and his sweetheart to hide. But that when the Prime Minister sits in the room, because one, he understands that his legacy is hinged to this. Two, he understands that he doesn't have very long to go at it. Three, he understands that the people of the Bahamas typically only give you a 5-year cycle to get this done. I think he has all of that in his mind as he is in the room with the negotiators, thinking about how we will get that free money. And the truth of the matter is, Gases, and Business 101 is, one of the things you need to start any new industry or business is capital. And so if the Prime Minister has a competently capable deputy, as we are now seeing, Chester Cooper is masterfully handling the goings-on down there in Mayagüana.
You be lotion now.
Well, I mean, I like to call the facts the facts. I said Alfred Sayers was doing a piss-poor job at being Minister of Works last week. So
you call it lotioning, Cassius?
You get lotion.
Why do you think it's lotioning? If Chester,
I think Chester is responding the way I wish the administration former responded in Dorian. I didn't see it, and to his benefit, the people of Mayagüana now actually have the Dorian experience to measure against. I would say that. Before that, the Minister administration didn't enjoy that luxury. So the people are more willing now to evacuate and be evacuated and be sheltered, etc., etc. But he could also have sat on his hands, Cassius, and done nothing and wait till it does, well, it's only 21 of them, I think it is, all die, and then we cry about it. But if you have this capable deputy, I say you and Fred Mitchell hold hands and you all fly up and down around the world, go to the United Emirates next. I hear they got plenty of money.
What you say about that?
But still, when you look home, then you get high murder rate. You have an agriculture sector that's not working. You have an educational system that we're graduating the average. So you can fly all around the world.
You're saying walk and chew gum at the same time.
The commissioner, I think they're doing that. I think they're doing that.
You build
Gentlemen,
your country.
I quickly want the two of you, because I hear the break, I want you to talk about, just weigh in on the fact that this gentleman who says he was hungry, we know the things a little tight, and so he was given a 2.5-year jail sentence for stealing. I'm not a proponent of stealing or breaking into anywhere, but $6 on hot dog buns from a church, also stole from a store. But could he have been given some sort of other sort of punishment in terms of maybe, I don't know, community service, something like that? What are your thoughts?
I'm not even interested in including the law in this. I will say this. The book I read says, despise not a man if he steals to satisfy his hunger. I hope that's the same book they're preaching out inside the pulpit. If you use that, then I don't think there was any need here for any arm of the state to be involved.
Well, I guess, it is really harsh sentence. So I think the judge in this case was looking at it. If you have the audacity to steal from church, who else will you steal from?
Despise not a man if he steals to satisfy his hunger. That's what the book I read says.
Where you stealing from? You stealing from the house of God. And so, Manuel,
despise not a man if he steals to satisfy his hunger.
The sentence is but harsh. But consider the judge's position. You're stealing from church. If you have the audacity to break into a church and steal from church, who else will do? Whose home is next? And so on. And so you never know where the road ends. And so sometimes you got to put your foot down in this case. But sometimes the penalty must
I hear this jingle. I want you to know though that we've got to consider all these things in the culture. Just how Bahamians think it's too harsh to go to jail for $6 worth of bread, they also think that they ain't raping no wife. And so you can't.
Did you find out over the weekend if husbands are now sleeping with their wives?
I find out that there's one bunch of jubilant men out there all getting in almost near traffic accidents, trying to get home to these wives that they want to just...
Sleeping, stop lying, stop. You men now running to go sleep with their wives?
Getting in their traffic accidents.
As a result of your last show...
Yeah, they've all been reinvigorated.
These Bahamian men?
Yes, he rejuvenated all of their...
These ones?
Their desires.
Yeah, I think your friends pulled you aside and say, Blade, what you into? Listen, I thank you both very much, Levan Miller and Cassius Stewart. Thank you very, very much for weighing in and being pundits, and also for being a great Hot Topics panel. When we come back, though, speaking of marital rape, or husbands sleeping with wives and desiring them or forcing them, we're going to get one outspoken bishop's point of view. He's not been quiet. This is not the first time you will hear him speak, and perhaps not the last. He's going to talk about that right after the break when we come back. Stay close.
Section 1, Thomas A. Robinson Sports Stadium. At our office, you can purchase or renew your insurance or get your vehicle inspected. We at BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers represent major carriers. Step 2, see the professionals at Road Traffic to get your vehicle licensed. Step 3, enjoy your day. Insure with BMG Insurance Agents and Brokers today, saving you time and money. Your one-stop shop for all of your insurance needs. Great rates, convenient, excellent service, service. For more information, call us at 322-2221.
Welcome back to the show. Calls are increasing for the government to make marital rape a crime. Outspoken this exchange with you because you have not been shy of expressing your views.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me here. It's good to be alive. I'm celebrating life.
Yes.
Last year this time, I was lying on my dying bed for 4 months, and the Lord saw fit to restore my health, to heal my body, and to give me a miracle. And for that, I am eternally grateful to my Lord and Savior.
He is that, a miracle worker.
Yes, he's faithful.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You have been not shy, whether on your social media or elsewhere, talking about marital rape and expressing your views, which are not along the lines of what a growing number of persons are saying, including lawmakers. But I want to ask you, this interview is strictly about your position. How often is rape happening in marriages that this has become hugely topical again?
That's a good question. I asked the same question just recently. Personally, and I can speak for a lot of other pastors and ministers, we've not had very many complaints. As a matter of fact, me personally, I know of no woman who've said that their husband raped them. I don't know where this came from, but now I understand. As we investigate, we see that this is an agenda, a global agenda. And
a global agenda for what, though? Just to
for,
say a man cannot rape his wife?
No, what they're doing right now, they're criminalizing marital rape around the world. It's a global agenda from the UN. They're not hiding it. They've signed documents that this is their agenda. But I believe that what they're doing is not in the best interest of the family of a married couple. This law, contrary to what the headline said a few days ago, where it said the bill is no attack on marriage, that is not so. This bill is a direct attack on marriages and family.
How so?
Because what it's going to do is going to turn wives against their husband. Now, let me say this categorically. I do not support any man forcibly.
Look right here, sir. Speak right into that
forcibly raping his wife, forcing sex on his wife. I do not support that. I believe that any man who does that should be dragged before the court. Because if you have to force your wife for sex, you don't have a marriage. You don't have a wife. You need to move on, sir. I don't believe in that. I will not. Any man who does that, who forces his wife for sex, I am opposed to that. He should be locked up. Now, where I differ with this proposed amendment to the sexual offenses law is that I don't believe that we should call this marital rape. People are saying rape is rape. Well, if rape is rape, why do you need marital rape? That's the proof that it's not rape is not rape. Mm-hmm. You see my point?
Yeah, because I kind of sort of thought that too. I'm like, well, rape is rape. If a man forces himself and be very, very, violent with his wife, she has every right to go to the law and bring the law into that situation.
I'll tell you the difference. If a single man forces, he has a girlfriend, he forces his girlfriend to have sex, he should be charged with rape. His girlfriend or any other woman, he should be charged with rape. Mm-hmm. If a married man forces his wife to have sex, which is wrong, which is despicable, he should then be charged with assault, cruelty. The woman should be able to seek a divorce because they don't have a marriage. But marriage is different from a single, because when a person is married, there's a covenant. It's a divine covenant.
I noticed you left out the word rape in that instance. He should not be charged with
No,
rape?
he should not be charged with rape. There's no, because, see, marriage is different from a single life. A married man and his wife, they are in covenant together. It's a divine covenant. In that covenant, they agree to have sex. That's a part of the covenant. And scripturally, and people don't like the Bible, but the Bible, God ordained marriage, and God established the rules of engagement. He established them. Not us, not man, not the state, God. And we need to see what God says about it.
So you will not ever be in support of, because I was going to ask, what's the difficulty of just making rape, wherever it happens, in or out of a marriage, illegal? Just that same word, a crime.
It's already, okay, a woman already has a recourse. She can go to the police and say that she was assaulted. She can file charges. She can get a separation. She can get divorced. She can get counseling, whatever she wants. But she has all those options. That's for a married couple. It's different for somebody who's single. But marriage is different from, you can't treat marriage the same way as you're treating single couples. No, man, it's a big difference. See, God established laws. Let me tell you what the Bible says about it, because people don't like the Bible, but the Bible has something to say about that. See, marriage is a divine relationship between a husband and a wife built on trust, unity, and love. A husband and wife become one. Mm-hmm. The Bible says that. The vows says that. Sexual intercourse in a marriage should be consensual. I believe that. Any man who has to force his wife for sex is less than a man, in my view.
But violently so.
Yeah.
I mean, what if this man just somehow is intoxicated, whatever it could be, or very angry, and violently attacks his wife?
He should be punished.
That's rape.
I believe he should be punished to the full extent of the law. I really believe that.
But not be charged.
Not be charged with marital rape. It's like it doesn't make sense. Let's see what the Bible says, and we'll get a better appreciation for this topic, because a lot of people are talking about marital rape, but everybody can't be right. There's only one viewpoint that is correct, and so we have to go back to the Creator, not the creation. We have to go back to the Creator and see what He says. He ordained marriage. He established marriage. Not us, not man. And let's see what he says, because I believe that these bills are going to cause a lot of conflict, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt.
Do you feel as though, how do you think the government should proceed? Should they proceed through Parliament and just passing the law, or coming to the people like you and a number of others, because I'm going to ask you if you have perhaps spoken with others, but should they do that versus just going and passing this, knowing that there are there's perhaps half the population that feels like, listen, stay out of my business?
Last week, I was at the symposium, the one-day symposium that the government had. And I listened to all the speakers, but guess what? It was all one-sided. It was like a fixed fight, okay? Everybody was saying the same thing. And it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair and just. Plus, the room was packed with pastors, and the pastors were not allowed to share their views and to talk about this matter as we expected. So they had, number one, the program was too long. They had too many speakers. They had almost 15, 20 speakers.
But would you think that was about trying to convince you all?
No, we serve, see, everybody's on one side. I'm on the Lord's side. I'm on the Bible side. And you get attacked. People attack me. People call me all manner of names because I standing with the word. Now, when you stand for God, we know you're going to be attacked, but bring it on. God will take care of me. I'm not afraid to speak the truth. I'm not afraid of people attacking me and saying evil against me. I'm not afraid of that. I'm going to speak the truth. I don't care what it costs. Now, some pastors are afraid. They will be silent because they know if you open your mouth and you speak the truth, people will attack you. We live in a very godless society nowadays. People don't fear God. They don't fear the police. They don't fear order. They just rebellious. They have no heart. They're cold. You look at the murders, you could tell. Look at the rapes that are happening now. I'm not talking about marital in marriages. Just look at the rapes that are happening right now. I understand the count is 52 or 53 so far for the year. Okay, so let's see what God says about this, Shanique. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse number 3. This is what it says. The husband should fulfill his wife's needs and his wife's sexual needs. And the wife should fulfill her husband's needs. The wife, watch this, the wife gives authority over her body to her husband. God speaking now. Likewise, the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. That means, what that means, and well, let me finish it. And it says, do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain for a limited time so that you can give yourselves more completely to prayer. So if they live in a loving marriage, a nice loving relationship, there's be no reason for the man to have to force himself on her. If a man has to force himself on her because for whatever reason, he's wrong. Mm-hmm. Now, a woman has no right to withhold her body from her loving husband. I'm not saying he should rape her or he should force her. No. I'm saying, but she has no authority. The Bible says that. When he wants sex, she should give him sex. What some women do, they use sex as a tool, as a weapon to control their husband, to control their men. They use sex if they want to have their own way. They use sex. I met a gentleman who told me he works for government, and he told me his wife gives him sex once a month. That's right before payday. I tell him, man,
and she acting like a trick.
She acting like a prostitute. You know, you can't withhold sex from your husband.
Now, what if in this instance,
that's control? That's control.
Right. It is control and manipulation.
Yes.
And so, what is this man left to do? He's not. He's told you he's not physically attacked her, or forced himself on her.
He never forced himself on her, but he's a very humble man. He's never forced himself on her. But look at. I'm just telling you what that could drive a man to do. Not necessarily to force himself on her. It could drive him out of the marriage. You go look because he has sexual needs. So if she's only giving him some love once a month, what happened to the rest of the month when he got these desires in him? And so I'm saying women should not use sex to control their husband and to manipulate them. But I stand with the word, and Michelle, I saw quite a bit of different views on rape, on marital rape. Now, there's no such thing as marital rape. We know that. It's not in the Bible. It's not on our law books. I believe that if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But it came from somewhere. But it's an agenda, and this marital rape
and you feel
agenda.
that agenda is to get to the what should be sort of the core of society, the family.
The family. It's an attack on the family.
And when you said, but how I don't see where the attack is.
Okay, let me explain. A woman, you know, Bahamian men sometimes keep sweetheart, right? If a fella keeping sweetheart and his wife catch him with a sweetheart, this law is passed. His wife catch him with a sweetheart. She could very easily say, I can get him, and she could plan in her mind. And of course, some of these women are mentally ill. I'm not talking about sane women, she could be mentally challenged. But she planned in her mind, I'm going to get him. And she decide that she's gonna claim that he raped her. She could bruise her body, she could do all kinds of things to herself. And he goes before the court, dragged before the court, and she shame him and disgrace him because he got sweetheart. There's so many things, there's so much evil in this bill. It's so destructive to the ordinary family. And I will oppose it if I oppose it by myself.
Are you by yourself? Have you met with groups of people who feel the same way as you do, or you truly are the lone man in the wilderness?
Michelle, I serve right now.
I know you on Michelle's show
Listen
a lot,
to me.
Shanique.
I serve right now as the chairman of the Bahamas College of Bishops. We have 34 bishops in the college, in that organization. I'm the chairman. We've discussed it. We've not gone into detail in it, but based on the consensus that I'm hearing from most of the bishops, most of the members, they believe just like me. If you look at the church, most people in the church believe exactly the same thing. If you go look in the wider society believes exactly the same thing. So if they were to do a poll, they will find out that in my view, about 70% of the persons in the Bahamas are opposed to this bill. They've not given us any figures. I believe 70% are opposed to this bill, and I'm opposed to it, and many others are opposed to it, and we will fight it because it's not a good law, it's not a good bill. It's not in the interest of families. It is to serve the agenda of the United Nations and CEDAW, and it's wrong, and we're going to fight against it, we're going to stand up against it.
What's the next step? Because how do you plan on fighting against it and standing against it?
Well, every citizen, I learned a long time ago, everybody has a voice. Use your voice, use your influence, speak about it. I'll advise pastors to start teaching their members about this proposed bill, teach them about marriage, convince your members to stay away from what we call adultery and sweethearting, and just live your life pure before God, and then set the right example. But don't support no bill that's going to destroy families. Just a bad bill, and I will fight against it to the end.
Wow. Bishop Walter Hanschel, you heard him again this evening, not backing down, unflinching in his position that this marital rape bill, of course, it's a bigger bill. I think Sexual Offences Act, I believe that is the official name, and don't quote me on that, but that he stands against all of it because what he feels it does is potentially will destroy the family and the marriage in particular. Bishop Hanschel, thank you for stopping by and talking about this. I know this debate is going to continue, and if you plan on fighting against it, I know it's going to be a long fight.
Yes, it will.
Yes, sir.
It will.
I thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us here on Beyond the Headlines. Don't go anywhere. We're going to come back and we're going to shift gears a little bit and give you an opportunity to hear some good news, to talk about how you can become more empowered, as many Bahamians already are through Arawak X. Stay exactly where you are. Beyond the Headlines comes back after this break. impressive. And crowdfunding in the Bahamas, and what's happening as well, is a unique opportunity for Bahamians to have ownership in areas they ordinarily would not have had access to. Well, this evening we are joined by Arawak ex-CTO, I hope I got that title right, DRC Raming Jr. Thank you very much for being here. This is really, really super. When you all launched, I don't know if it was a year or two ago or just over a year ago, crowdfunding and that whole idea to the Bahamas, did you envision this response and this success so soon?
Well, you know, it's been a learning experience for us, and thank you for having me on the show, Shani.
My pleasure.
You know, like, we launched in August last year, right before an election, in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, I know, right?
Still lockdowns and things. And, you know, it's been fascinating because we're learning the market as it goes along. And, you know, we took a pause after our first 3 launches to reevaluate and look over all of the things that people have been saying. We had 7,000 people sign up. Not everybody was able to invest. Some people weren't able to go through different processes. And we sat down and we said, okay, what is going on here? So we did everything again from scratch. We redeveloped our technology. We redeveloped our processes. We redeveloped our KYC. We got certain laws and regulations changed to make it easier for people to onboard.
Right.
We had to do a lot of different stuff, and that took about 6 months. And then we launched again with Tropical Gyro.
Which has been received so well.
Yeah, you know, and Chef's a great guy.
No,
you know,
I understand
like,
Chef won't come talk about it again and bring some gyros. But that is just so amazing to hear. And something, again, like I said, quite unique. Bahamians are also catching on to it, because before everybody was scratching their head about crowdfunding, what is that? And I could on it, I could, you know, what? But it's really now they're seeing it's something that's tangible and it's real, and they're making it happen.
Yeah, you know, it's like, I grew up in a business family, right? My family are operators. Those are the people with those chief titles that, you know, they run the business. They're the bosses, right? But really, in order for the operators to exist, the ownership of the business needs to be of a certain size. You need to be doing a certain level of business. And what was missing in the Bahamas for a long time was you couldn't really bridge the gap between small mom and pop to big business.
Yeah.
There was that gap there. So even if you had a really great idea, really great business, how do you bridge that gap? Well, that's traditionally private equity. It sits in that gap. But private equity has been, for the most part, in our society, underwhelming, right? If you didn't know the right people, or if you didn't go to the right schools, or if you didn't, you know, whatever, you weren't getting funded. And so what crowdfunding does is it helps to democratize that process a little bit, makes it a little bit fairer, stacks the odds a little bit towards in a way that allows the business to grow. And so that's kind of what we were doing, and that's I'm glad to see the market has said, and when I say the market, I mean the investors have said, yes, we want more of this, and the businesses have said, yes, we want more of this, because tomorrow...
Listen, I am so excited about that. I want us to tease for that. Like, don't just jump there.
Okay.
Because what's coming tomorrow, listen, I talk to your people too, you're a part of your team. And so, but what's coming tomorrow is so amazing, and it's a necessary service that you can't, you really should really jump on board with this one. I'm not telling you what to do with your money, how to invest it. I'm just saying, when you have a piece of the pie in a company like this that's about to launch on Arawak X tomorrow, I think the returns are going to be amazing.
Absolutely, you know, and like I say, it just made sense. It's making a lot more sense to businesses that this is a legitimate pathway to get the business to where they have it. See, like, people don't understand, a business is just really a vehicle for an idea, right? A value that customers see. But you really need to keep the person who has the idea, you need to put proper checks and balances on him, but he needs to be in control of the idea, because he's in control of the vision. And if corporate governance can be, you know, people are afraid of it. Certainly business people sometimes are afraid of it, because oftentimes lawyers, accountants have used it to kind of tie the business person's hands behind his back, tie his feet, and then throw him overboard and then say, hey, go swim. And you wonder why these businesses die. Well, they die because you don't understand that the operator needs space to do what he's going to do.
To be flexible.
That's
and
right.
do some stuff.
That's right. You know, it's and like I say, this really bugs me, because I've seen so many great businesses fail because the wrong type of money gets involved, and it comes with too many constraints. And those people, frankly, when they run their own businesses, do terrible jobs at running their businesses. They don't know what they're doing. And so we came in to solve this problem of finding patient money for businesses so that the business, the operator, the visioneer can find the space and the time to figure it out.
Right.
And then when he figures it out, everybody makes money.
Which is super, like, so, I mean, something we all need to hear right now, right? But this also, obviously, with this new offering coming on board officially tomorrow in an official launch, it shows trust in what Arawak X has built and is doing, and the fact that you all are making this work for the business owner, for the investors, which of course is everybody who, and growing numbers who are investing on whatever schedule it is that they have determined. And so it shows trust, and it shows some sort of like, listen, wait a minute, this company knows what it's doing and gets the job done.
So like, people look at stock exchanges and they have kind of these weird things that nobody really knows about. What they are about, they're supposed to be about, and these are our values. Financial inclusion, everyone is supposed to have access to the markets. Transparency, meaning, hey, I don't know, I'm not a sophisticated investor. What does this mean? You're supposed to have an answer for them. Not, oh, trust me, I'm, you know, I stayed at the Holiday Inn last night. You know, so there's that. And then there's velocity. Things are supposed to be happening faster, more efficiently, because at the end of the day, life is hard, you're working hard, you're an investor. You're not doing a full-time job investing. Things are supposed to be made easier for you. And so that's our values at Arawak X, and we're trying to live to them. And that's where we believe where over time, people will come, they will experience us, and then over time they'll say, you know what? I like this company, let me put some money into this company. I like this issue, let me put some money into this issue. Because then they understand it. So that's why you're also seeing us do a lot of education, financial education, because finance is not complicated. There's a lot of terms for a lot of different ideas.
For people like you, it's not complicated. For the rest of us who perhaps are left-brain people, be like, what?
No, well, it's very simple. How do I make sure that this guy is going to actually do what he said he's going to do with the money that I lend him in terms of an investment? And how do I make sure I can see a return? That's it. All of those structures and all of that stuff is just to do those two very simple ideas. And so what we've done at Arawak X is we're trying to demystify this process. It's not magic. It is work, but it's not magic. And so we want people to know, because we know when you work hard for your money and your money needs to be kept safe. And that's why the regulation, that's why the transparency, and that's why we're taking the time to explain things to everybody. And we're seeing it.
Is there an ongoing educational process? Because I know you have active social media handles and pages, etc. So people understand and also follow to see what's coming.
Active social media. We're launching a new version of our website today. We're actually calling it Arawak X 2.1. We're bringing back the login where people will be able to log in. They'll be able to see their previous investments. They'll be able to participate in educational courses. So we're putting some education, basic stuff, so that you have the underlying foundations to have these kinds of financial conversations. We're going church by church, school by school, educating people so that people can experience us, ask questions. We can help them with the technology. Technology is new and scary, but and we understand that.
It can be, yes.
But we also understand that, like most people, my grandmother sends me good morning, those little good morning messages on WhatsApp. Yeah, so when people understand technology and they understand the use of it, they use it. And that's all it is. It's a tool.
Yeah.
So
and also in going church by church, office by office, you're also taking along with you an opportunity for empowerment, and people so need it right now. We hear talks of, we see inflation and its impact and the impact it's having, particularly on those who are vulnerable financially. And then, of course, we hear a little sip about recession and that kind of thing, which nobody wants to hear about. But when you become empowered, when you sort of have that and you say, now you're going to be able to go and have access to say, look at what I have, look what I've invested, and I like the fact that that looks like this, and it's growing for me, then that also is a good feeling.
Yeah, and it because at the end of the day, if you sit back with recession, inflation, all that means is if you sit back and wait, you are at the mercy of the tide, whichever direction it goes in. Whereas with ARWAC-X, it's a tool for the investor, it's a tool for the business owner to take some of that initiative where you're at least putting some of your fate in your own hands. I mean, you're not going to put all your fate. Obviously, we still have the country. There's still macro things going on that are bigger than all of us. But at least you can make smart decisions so you can give yourself a better chance at this thing called life and this thing called the economy and money that we all have to get better at, right?
Absolutely, totally, absolutely. So now, what's the new launch? We know that there is Tropical Gyros, and he's been on here before. He's brought that tasty, and the salads are amazing as well. Really, really awesome. So there's Tropical Gyros. There is a restaurant that's soon to open as well. And what else? And
there's Foot Care RX, which is
Foot Care, which also is on board. That's Dr. Danny Johnson.
That is.
Yeah, Dr. Danny Johnson. And so he is also on board, and he's well established. And so
he has a nice product that saves people's legs.
Yeah, and when you figure that he's come, he's now on the ARWAC-X platform. And so I know Dr. Johnson. And so, what's happening tomorrow? What's being launched? What's the new kid on the block?
I can tell you what I can tell you. So, as you know, I can only by law and by rule say public information. I can tell you what category, and I can tell you that it's a business that's been in business 20 years, and it's an established business, and it's in the petrochemical field. And that is all I can say.
That's all you can say?
That's all I can say. By rule and by law, I would tell you.
So petro, that sounds...
I'm not going to say anything else.
It sounds...
I'm not going to say anything else.
But I know it sounds to me like it's an industry you want to certainly look at.
But it is a necessity. And,
it's a necessity, yes.
And it is a wonderful opportunity run by a wonderful business family. And, tomorrow they're going to tell their story, and it should be nice and exciting. And I know some people are going to look at that and say, that's more my speed. Investing is once it's structured properly, there's no right and no wrong. It's about what fits your risk profile and what makes sense to you. And because at the end of the day, all investments have risk. But you have to be able to sleep well knowing that you took a calculated risk, you understood all of what could happen, and then when it works, it's going to work big.
Is ARWAC-X hearing from people who 1 year later, because it's just over a year now, who 1 year later have said, listen, thank you for number one, bringing this sort of crowdfunding new idea to the Bahamas. To the Bahamas, it was a new idea, and then giving Bahamians an opportunity to invest in this way and become owners of businesses in this way.
Absolutely. There's been you talk about the SIP. The SIP in the old days was that, Bahamians don't want to invest. They're not sophisticated enough to invest. The average guy is just interested in, blowing his money away, going to Miami, shopping, doing careless things with his money. That's not, they clearly don't live in the society, the same Bahamas that I live in. They live somewhere else.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things, we knew going into this business that there was a deep desire for people to be included in a meaningful way in the financial system. And all we're doing is giving people that avenue. And, we're using technology to make it easier, simpler. We're using education to make sure people understand what it is that they're doing. No one is looking around saying, I'm going to go into that business and I own the place, so I get to tear up the place. That's not how people who actually own things.
No, that's not the mindset at all.
No. So, but it's by giving people the opportunity, giving people the education, they're going to create for themselves the kinds of financial life that they want. Because at the end of the day, people want to do things. People need money for things, right? They want to buy a house, they want to buy a car, they want to save some school fees, they want to, whatever it is. And they should have personally, I think they have the right to have access to these kinds of services.
Absolutely.
And you don't have the right to just exist and be poor and cut out of the system.
Mhm.
That's wrong. I believe they have a human right to have access to financial services.
Yeah, and the game, and you all have been a part of changing that game, changing that landscape where people perhaps had to stay in a certain category because they had no access to something else. And now, for the last year plus, people have access. They've been taking advantage of the access. They've been growing the access. Many people are happy to say, oh, guess what? I am an investor in this, this, and this. You know what I mean? And they feel good. Their portfolio looks good, you know? And so...
And if I may, one last thing
Yeah.
is that with the new login feature, you can actually sign up tonight, put your KYC information in, and we're shooting to have people approved within 24 hours this go around. And then once you get approved, you'll be able to invest in any of the offerings. And we're getting better and better and better at bringing these offerings to the table.
Yeah.
You know, we're so much so that it's hilarious because like there's so many rumors about what's happening at Arawak X right now. And every time I hear these rumors, I just say to myself, those are just the haters that don't want us to succeed. But you know, it's hilarious how we are getting better and better and better. And I think people are starting to realize that this is going to make a meaningful change in the way people live. And that's the mission of Arawak X.
It is. I certainly hope to have a few of your business owners on, you know, like Dr. Johnson, for example, Danny Johnson, to hear his experience and the fact that he feels good in opening up his practice so that you can own a bit of it, you can own a piece of it, etc. And that's exactly what he has done in coming on that Arawak X platform. And so, you know, we hope to certainly speak with him soon. And I thank you. By the way, what is the website or that they can get on?
ArawakX.com. Go to ArawakX.com. It takes 7 minutes or less if you have your passport NIB or some sort of driver's license NIB for you to onboard. Once you have an account, it's free to sign up for an account. There are no sign-up fees, no minimum investments. Once you have an account, you can start to make pledges. And once you have those pledges, you can pay. And you can see all of that in real time with Arawak X 2.1, which is launching today. So
Arawak X 2.1,
Yes.
guys, making it simple, certainly simplifying it, and for us who are not at all finance minds, so it, you know, it's lingo with every profession, and so
well, that's
there's
the tech part of me.
I know, totally the tech, right? And
Yeah.
so they're simplifying it and making it easier for you to get in. And listen, ownership, oh gosh, and then to have those returns smiling all the way to the bank, literally, yes. And so that right there is amazing. And I look forward to hearing much, much more. I thank you very much, DRC Raming Jr. He is CTO of Arawak X. They're about to launch a new company tomorrow and gives you an opportunity to be a new investor all over again, or perhaps an investor for the first time. I think it's a great opportunity.
Thank you for having me.
I have an idea of the type of business that you're speaking of. And so, yeah, my pleasure for sure. Yeah, looking forward to tomorrow's launch. I thank you all so much. I think we're going to go to Mount Tabor Minute of Inspiration. Yeah, let's do that, guys. Right up, straight ahead.
Understand, but before any of us can do God's will, we must recognize that in our own nature, we don't want to do God's will. We want to do our will. Most often, God's will for our lives requires sacrifice. We don't want to do that. God's will for us sometimes puts us in uncomfortable position. Sometimes God's will is not our preferred choice because it pains the flesh sometimes to do God's will. But we prefer to do our will because we chose it. And if we choosing it for ourselves, we're not going to intentionally choose anything that would hurt us, harm us, or make us uncomfortable. Let me tell you something. If you continue to live without God, at some point in your life, things will crash and you will run back to him. Paul put it like this one day, every knee shall bow. It don't care how cute you act, how much you think you got it all together. Every tongue shall confess sooner or later that Jesus Christ is Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, I made up my mind that I prefer to acknowledge him as Lord voluntarily. I'm not going to wait until my back is up against a wall to say, oh, Lord God, I need you now.
That does it for our show this evening. Thank you.